What's going on, everybody? You back rocking with your boy Sweet Science. You on the air. Subscribe to the channel, beat the like button up, hit the bell icon for all your post notifications. We gonna cook today. So I gotta talk about this one. I gotta elaborate on this because I'm hot. I ain't gonna lie, I'm heated. Y'all see I got the Mike Tyson hat. You know what I'm saying? Prime Mike, Kid Dynamite, Iron Mike Tyson. Shout out to Mike Tyson. But yeah, man, I gotta talk about it today because tell me, please, tell me that my real boxing fans out there seen this top 10 pound for pound by ESPN via Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith. I got a lot of respect for Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith when it comes to any other sport. When it comes to talking basketball, when it comes to talking football, when it comes to talking baseball, hell, if it comes to ice skating, right? I'll listen to Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith. However, when it comes to the sport of boxing, notice the key words, sport and boxing, because there is a sweet science to it, no pun intended. I can't really listen to Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith. Now, we all know Max Kellerman got his start on HBO. You know, HBO had their problems with, boxing. That's why they're no longer in the business. But, okay, we'll give Max Kellerman that. But this is the same Max Kellerman, which leads me into the pound for pound list. This is the same Max Kellerman that stated for years that Vasyl Lomachenko was the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. Vasyl Lomachenko. This is the same Max Kellerman that said Vasyl Lomachenko was #1 pound for pound in the world, that worked for ESPN, whom of which on several occasions, before the Teofimo Lopez loss, erased Vasyl Lomachenko's loss to Orlando Salido. Ooh, I know that stings, and y'all knew I was going to say that. You know I was coming with it, but I had to. I'm sorry. He was a bit of a hype job. He was a bit of a hype job, and I can say that because you ain't going to find nothing on my channel where I was praising Vasyl Lomachenko before this video. Vasyl Lomachenko was a bit of a hype job. Good fighter? Yes. Great fighter? No. To be great in the pros, you either have to have had great fights, into which Vasyl Lomachenko had no, Guillermo Rigondeaux? The dude who moved up, 1 or 2 weight classes to fight him in the first place? Guillermo Rigondeaux? Huh? Linares? Who? The dude had 14 fights and was in the #1 spot. Even over people like Gennady Golovkin, I don't even think he deserves to be on that list anymore either. But even over people like Gennady Golovkin, Max Kellerman had Vasyl Lomachenko at #1. So that right there is a red flag to me. That tells me that Max Kellerman doesn't know what he's talking about, right? And there is an agenda being pushed at ESPN, and we're going to talk about that as well. Now, aside from the fact that they had Canelo Alvarez at #2 and Monster Inoue at #3. How, Sway? Please explain this to me. Monster Inoue. So when you say those words, Monster Inoue, name me 1 to 2 fights that he had with a fighter not named Nonito Donaire. I'll wait. You can't. So we're going to put Monster Inoue, this little dude in the number 3 spot for his Nonito Donaire fight? What? I'm getting to the meat of it. I ain't even start cooking yet. I'm not doing this top 10 in any order. I'm going to just talk about it as I'm thinking about it. They had Canelo Alvarez at number 2. Now, granted, I will say, top 10 pound for pound, I'm not mad if Canelo Alvarez is on somebody's list, top 10 pound for pound. If I'm talking to a real boxing fan, not a fight fan, not MMA, UFC, and boxing fan, not an MMA fan, but a boxing fan. If I'm talking to a boxing fan and they have Canelo Alvarez in their top 10 pound for pound, as long as he's not anywhere in the top 5, I think that's reasonable, right? So they had Canelo Alvarez in the number 2 spot. Now, if they want to put him there, ESPN, that's fine. But here's where the problem comes into play. So at number 1, they got Bud Crawford, and they only moved Bud Crawford to number 1 because the hype train is over. Vasily Lomachenko's done. He said he's going to retire if he can't get the rematch with Teofimo Lopez, and Teofimo Lopez said, fuck him. He's not giving him a rematch. So if he's a man of his word, he's out of here. You understand what I'm saying? So we got Bud Crawford at number 1. I'm not mad at that. That's reasonable. We got Bud Crawford at number 1. Canelo Alvarez at number 2. They put Monster Inoue at number 3. And then Stephen A. Smith. And then Stephen A. Smith has the audacity, okay, the nerve, the gall, the cojones, the balls to say that he doesn't feel that Errol Spence Jr. should be on the list. Now, you might want to check specifically what he said. I don't remember if he said specifically he doesn't believe that Errol should be in the number 4 spot, or if he should be on the list at all. If memory serves me correctly, he said that he shouldn't be on the list at all. Okay. All right. And why shouldn't Errol Spence Jr., a unified champion at welterweight, right, who ran through pretty much almost all your favorite welterweights that would fight him, his reasoning for Errol Spence Jr. not being on the list, or shouldn't be on the list, is because of 2 reasons. One, his accident. He says that Errol Spence was in that horrific accident. We haven't seen him since. We have not got to see how he's going to operate post-accident. You know what? I'll almost call that one reasonable, right? Almost. Even though we've already had doctor reports clear Errol Spence Jr. that he's good. He came away from the accident with no serious injuries. He lost some teeth. Okay? Everyone around him, close to him in camp, his family, has all said that it's a miracle. And the guy's great. He even had a sparring partner come out recently and say that he's better than before. So the accident, okay, if you still want to try to speculate over that, that's fine. But then he says that Errol Spence Jr. should not be on the list because he's been inactive. Ooh, Stephen A. Smith. I hope you see this too. I hope you see this. I hope the boxing world share this. I hope this go viral. Because this man, they need to stop talking about boxing up there at ESPN. I'm sorry. You know, if we still had Burt Sugar or something like that, because even Teddy Atlas still lost his mind nowadays. If we still had Burt Sugar, the boxing historian or something like that, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith, hell, Teddy Atlas, they need to just stop talking boxing. At this point, we appreciate my guy, fucking Teddy Atlas. We appreciate him. We appreciate him for what he's done to the sport, for, you know, his story involving Mike Tyson and, you know, what he's done for the sport. We appreciate you, Teddy Atlas. But at this point in your career, you have become so biased that we don't want to hear from you anymore. It's time to pack it up. It's a new era. It's a new day. You're out of here. You gotta go. Now, the other reason for Errol Spence not being on there was that Stephen A. Smith said is because he was inactive. Well, okay. Errol Spence fought Sean Porter in his last fight. That was in late. Not early, not mid, but late September of last year. Right? 2019. Okay. Canelo Alvarez, even Monster Inoue. Their last fights were at the beginning of November of last year, 2019. Errol Spence has a fight coming up with Denny Swift Garcia, who's arguably in the top 5 welterweights, right? So we're going to take Errol Spence off of the pound-for-pound list because he had an accident, had every right to take a tune-up when he came back to the sport of boxing, and instead of taking a tune-up, he decides that he wants to fight the best and goes after or accepts the fight with Denny Swift Garcia, who is not no easy outing for anyone. And the 2 losses, that Denny Swift Garcia has to Keith Thurman and to Sean Porter, they didn't beat his ass. They didn't beat the shit out of Danny Garcia. You've never seen anybody beat the shit out of Danny Garcia. So Errol Spence comes back, schedules a fight, is in camp right now to fight. Meanwhile, Canelo's not in camp. Canelo's in a legal battle. So we don't even know when we're going to be seeing Canelo Alvarez again. He fought a month and a week maybe after Errol did. But he deserves to be in the number 2 spot? Explain this to me. Explain. Now, as we go down this list, you know, it gets crazier, right? Now, traditionally, the pound-for-pound list is not reserved for heavyweights because obviously you can take the best guy from pretty much damn near any division and have him fight the best heavyweight. He's going to more than likely lose 9.9 times out of 10, right? Okay. So, the top 10 pound-for-pound list has never really been reserved or there for heavyweights. In the number 8 spot, they had Tyson Fury. What? In the number 8 spot, they had Tyson Fury. Now let's excuse the fact that the top 10 pound-for-pound list isn't really reserved for heavyweights. Let's excuse that fact for a second. Well, if we're going to put Tyson Fury on there, well, we have to ask why. Well, the UK fans and the Tyson Fury fanboys or the AJ fanboys or the racist fans, they'll say, because he beat Wilder. He beat him up so bad, he's rubbish. He's gone. He's gone forever. He should retire. Okay, so make this make sense. According to the racist fans, the UK fans, and in the words of the great Roger Mayweather, the folks who don't know shit about boxing, according to you guys, Deontay Wilder has and always has been a bum, right? He's a bum, according to you. He has no skills, according to you. He was never on the top 10 pound for pound list, despite the fact that he reigned heavyweight WBC champion for 5 years, tied Muhammad Ali's record, into which he would have broken had he not been cheated, and we all know that story. He was never on the top 10 pound for pound list himself. He was always a bum to you guys. So how is Tyson Fury on the pound for pound list for beating Deontay Wilder, who was a bum and was never on the pound for pound list himself? What? Make it make sense. So the only reason that Fury's on that top 10 pound for pound list is because he beat Wilder. So there you tell on yourself. If we're going to place Fury on the top 10 pound for pound list for beating Wilder, even though we know he cheated, but okay, for argument's sake, if we're going to place Fury on the top 10 pound for pound list for beating Wilder, then it's one of a few things. Either you guys were lying, and the whole time you've known that Wilder was dangerous, you've known that he could put anyone's lights out, and you've known that the guy was pretty much a threat to anyone. And you didn't give him his credit, didn't want him on the pound for pound list, called him a bum, even though you knew that the guy could put anybody's lights out in the sport of boxing. Okay, so either you lied about that, or you truly believe he's a bum. You truly believe, you know what, the guy's just a bum, he can't fight, he had all those knockouts by luck, I guess, he has no skills. So either way you look at it, if he was a bum and Fury beat a bum, so beating a bum gets you put on the pound for pound list. And if he wasn't a bum, then Wilder was somebody in order for Fury to beat him and be placed on the pound for pound list, into which that shows clear bias by ESPN because Wilder was never on the pound for pound list. So how does a fighter make the pound for pound list for beating a guy who was never on it? That was a champion. Make it make sense. Number 5, they had Teofimo Lopez. Do you know who they had right behind Teofimo Lopez? Vasyl Lomachenko. They had Vasyl Lomachenko directly in the number 6 spot behind Teofimo Lopez, who was in the 5th spot. So let me get this straight. Okay, motherfucker. So ESPN, Max Kellerman, the whole mainstream boxing media, old media, shall we call them, because it's new media. So the whole mainstream boxing media praised Lomachenko. He was this world destroyer. He was the Matrix, right? He was the Matrix. Oh, he's so incredible. Y'all even went as far as comparing Vasyl Lomachenko to Muhammad Ali. Disrespectful. So y'all had him in the number 1 spot, right? Teofimo Lopez beats him. Now, and he beat him convincingly, right? Made the boy look bad. Now we're hearing all these shoulder stories. I don't want to hear it. It's excuses. If Wilder having surgery on his bicep was an excuse, then fucking Vasyl Lomachenko, Vasily, that's what I'm going to call him because he's being silly. Vasily Lomachenko, that's an excuse. I don't care if he had, before that fight, he said he was 100% healthy. That puts the nail in the coffin right there. So according to y'all logic, y'all had Vasyl Lomachenko at number 1 for the longest time. Teofimo Lopez beats him convincingly, and he only gets the number 5 spot? How, Sway? Please explain this to me. By y'all logic, he should at least be number 2. Canelo got to move up out that spot. He's been inactive. So this is crazy. This is clear bias, possibly racism, and then you'll have idiots come and say, well, it can't be racism because Stephen A. Smith is black and he was talking about it too. His bosses ain't black. You don't think that they make them motherfuckers push narratives? Stephen A. Smith is going to like whoever the people at ESPN like. Period. So I don't care if Stephen A. Smith is black. This is clear bias and possibly, very possibly, racism on behalf of ESPN with this top 10 pound for pound list. Right? Now, They had Gennady Golovkin on the top 10 pound-for-pound list, which leads me to my next point and my last two final points. Well, I got three final points. They had Gennady Golovkin on there in the 10th spot, right? Gennady Golovkin, who has not looked good in years, who is about 38 years old, who's on his way out of the sport, who got dominated, to me both times, but especially the second time, who got dominated by Canelo Alvarez, right? Goes on to knock out Steve Rose, whoever the hell that is. And then he fights Derevyanchenko. You know he lost to Derevyanchenko. You know he lost to him. You know it. They robbed Derevyanchenko versus Gennady Golovkin so he can hold on to that damn belt. Right? So they can hold on to this image of Gennady Golovkin. An overrated, two-dimensional fighter. Yes, I said it. They say, preach, pastor. I am preaching. Right? So, Derevyanchenko beat that man. And we all know that when Jermall Charlo fought Derevyanchenko, that should have been a unification. So, Gennady Golovkin, if you watch that fight, even if you agree that he won that fight, or if you think he won that fight, into which if you think that he won that fight, then I know you don't know shit about boxing. But okay, let's say you think that he won that fight. Even if you think that, he didn't win it easy. Derevyanchenko gave Gennady Golovkin all the problems he could possibly find, right? It wasn't a walk in the park for him. But how did Jermall Charlo handle Derevyanchenko? How did Jermall Charlo handle Derevyanchenko? Beat his ass. Beat his ass, lumped him up. Everything Derevyanchenko tried with Jermall Charlo was null and void, right? But yet we don't have Jermall Charlo on the top 10 pound-for-pound list? Let me go even further. We got Monster Inoue on there. We got Monster Inoue on the top 10 pound-for-pound list. Yet we don't have one belt away, unified champion at 154, Jermall Charlo on the top 10 pound-for-pound list? When he was robbed in his only defeat, which was to Tony Harrison, a lot of people, especially me, thinks that he didn't even win that. Tony Harrison didn't even win that fight. Then he comes back, avenges his loss, not by decision, but by knockout. Then goes on right after that and fights a guy who beat J. Rock Williams, who was the man who beat the man, Jarrett Hurd. Yet we don't have Jermall Charlo on the top 10 pound-for-pound list? Okay. I see what's going on. And last but not least, explain to me, please, how we do not have Gervonta Tank Davis in the top 10 pound-for-pound. How do we not have Gervonta Tank Davis in the top 10 pound-for-pound? Explain. But Monster Inoue is on the top. Man, okay, motherfucker. Well, again, man, that concludes it. Y'all get my point. Y'all see where I'm going with this. Clear bias from ESPN and mainstream boxing media. Shout out to Black Media Rose. Shout out to the LDBC. Hey, man. Again, subscribe to the channel. Beat the like button up. Smash it. Hit the bell icon for all your post notifications. Sweet Science 702. And I'm out.